It's a smorgasbord. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kathy and today we are here to talk about this. Small Favour, Book 10 in the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Okay, I loved this one. I really did. I know I say that about all of them, but this one, I just loved how many old characters we have previously met Butcher brought back into the one book. This was one where I would turn the page and go, oh, this person is in it, and then turn another page and go, oh, and so are they. Oh, I just loved it. It made me giddy with delight. It really did, that so many favourite characters of mine were all in the one book. It's like he knew which ones I loved the most and he was determined to just knock me out. And he did. Okay, now like previous reviews, I'm going to be splitting this one into 3 parts, without spoilers, with spoilers, and a summary at the end. And all timestamps will be in my description box below. So let's start off with who is in Small Favour. Who isn't really? We see Michael and Sonia, the 2 Knights of the Cross. I just loved them both. So I was very happy they played a major part in this story. We also meet up with Queen Mab of the Winter Fae Court and also the Archive, or Ivy. Oh, I have been dying of curiosity to learn more about the Archive, and I was really pleased to see her in it. And no surprise, Kincaid came with her. Another amazing character I want to know so much more about. And I forgot to mention that Lucio, the captain of the Wardens of the White Council, also plays a large part in this book. And if that wasn't enough, Butcher decided to also bring back the fallen angels, the Denarians, and Nicodemus. Oh, wow. I think you can understand why I was so giddy. The fallen angels, or Denarians, are definitely my favourite antagonists so far, because I think they're scary and they're so powerful and old and knowledgeable. They're human, right? Or were human anyway, and understand humanity much better than, say, some other villains or antagonists that we've met before. So let's talk about the plot. Harry is called in, I think, by Murphy to investigate the destruction of a building. I think he even said it wasn't me, or something to that effect, because Murphy suspects that magic was involved. And Harry learns that the building was owned by Marconi, who it appears may have been kidnapped. In the previous book, Marconi became a signatory to the Unseelie Accords, which is this pact or treaty between the magical groups in this world. So of course Harry speculates as to whether that is why he was kidnapped. And whilst investigating this, he is approached by Queen Mab of the Winter Fae Court, who calls in one of the 2 favours that Harry still owes her. As a result, she appoints him her emissary once more, as she did in Book 4, Summer Night. And as part of his role as emissary, Mab wants him to rescue Marconi, which I thought was really ironic. Now, because Marconi is part of the Unseelie Accords, Guard, I think that's her name, his wizard, his resident wizard, invokes a clause that requires the White Council to mediate this dispute between the Denarians and Marconi. And as a result, the Archive, Ivy, is appointed mediator, I guess, as she was, I think, the last time we met her. There isn't just one storyline usually in these books. Everything is so connected now because we know a lot of the backstory, that it is clear there is a lot more going on than just a simple kidnapping of Marconi. There is also this conflict between the two Fae courts. I will confess that I would have been happy if Butcher had ended the series there. Not that I don't want more books, I always want more books, but just having so many great characters that I'm very attached to in the one story, in the one book, was plenty for me. There is this scene right at the beginning, I think it's the first scene actually in the book, where Harry is at the carpenter's house and he is having a snowball fight with the carpenter children. I found that scene really touching actually, because we all know Harry is an orphan, or was for most of his life, and this was clearly something that he has missed, having family, especially such a large family. And I just loved how Cherry's attitude towards Harry has changed, and she now considers him part of their family. We can't forget, of course, that Harry is also mentoring Molly and teaching her about magic. She is his apprentice. So it's not surprising, but it's always good to see relationships develop, not remain stagnant. Yeah, I really loved that part. And yet in a way it was also poignant because it reminded me that Harry is alone. He doesn't have much family other than Thomas, who he has, I don't even want to call it a difficult relationship, but certainly not one that he can cultivate as much as he would have liked. And I think it was a theme in this book, how important family is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be blood kin. It can be close friends as well. Okay, I've been interrupted, so I'm going to have to finish this video another day. Not unexpectedly, we also see that Molly's character has developed. It's been now several years since she has been Harry's apprentice. Her skills are developing, her power is increasing, and she's starting to mature. Well, that's how I saw it anyway. And I was glad to see it. Now she seems to be maturing into a young, capable woman. She isn't, however, as powerful as Harry, but, and this is something I really did like about the book, was that we got to see that regardless of her skills being non-combative, she was able to put them to great use. And I'm really enjoying seeing Harry's relationship with the grasshopper. I love that. I love their caring for each other. I love how he assists her as much as he can, guides her, not just with magic, but also just life in general. Michael, always a favourite, isn't he? His story arc in this book, he actually starts off uncertain whether Harry has been affected by Lucille, so he is suspicious. He is concerned that Harry might be leading him and Sonia into a trap. I thought that was not unrealistic actually, because there is no doubt that the Fallen are very powerful and usually can overcome mortals quite easily. Now I'm going to mention some of the things I didn't like about the book. In book 5, I think it was, the Denarians, I think there were 3 or 4, they seemed unbeatable or powerful. It just didn't seem that Harry would be able to defeat them. And yet, in this book, he faces a lot more Denarians. Yes, Harry's skills have improved, his power has increased with time, and yes, he wasn't alone. Neither was he alone in the last book when he faced the Denarians. And yet it seemed to me, wow, they're just not as powerful as they were before. They still are, of course, but I was a little disappointed at that. I expected them to be much tougher to succeed against. However, I am a big fan of fantasy, as you guys know. I've read a lot of fantasy series. It always happens. I don't think I've ever read a series where a villain, say in a first book, doesn't seem unbeatable, and then later it just seems, yeah, they're not that scary. So it wasn't a complete surprise. Something else I didn't like was that Fix, the summer night of the Fae Court. There is a scene between him and Harry which I didn't think was in line with Fix's character, and that's all I can really say. There were a couple of other creatures that we meet, some magical creatures. One is called the Gruffs. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about them. I thought there was enough with the Denarians. I didn't know if we needed any more monsters that Harry had to deal with. Also, because Harry was once more the emissary of the Winter Court, there was clearly a conflict between the Summer and Winter Courts. I still don't know what the hell it was. I really don't. It wasn't explained enough for me. And I've read several books since this one, and it isn't explained. I don't have to have the explanation in this book, but I want to learn in the future. One of my complaints about an earlier book was that I didn't know what happened to Mab's court, where there seemed to have been a major battle. I think the place is called Arctus Tor. We find out in this one why. And she's really angry. And she's scary when she's angry. But I've got the explanation now, so I know. Okay, so this is what happened in the past. As I said, so far, and I'm on book 12 at the time of recording this, I still don't know why there was a conflict between the two Fae Courts. And I want to know. There was also another magical creature that Harry had to face, the Hobbs, I think they were called. I actually did like that scene or scenes. I just didn't know if it was necessary. Yeah, but then Harry always in every investigation comes across stumbling blocks, comes across creatures trying to kill him for no reason or to protect their interests. So perhaps I shouldn't consider that a criticism. There are a couple of other things that I didn't like about the book, but I'm going to talk about them in the spoiler part. Okay, so what did I like about this book? Oh, wow. Honestly, I think it is my favourite so far. I know I have several favourites, but they just keep getting better. And what I loved about this book is that Butcher seemed intent on returning all my favourite characters from previous books. I love seeing them all together. I love seeing all the interactions between these different characters. I love seeing how they have changed and developed, if they have. There was just so many things I loved about this one. I adored Nicodemus's conversations with Harry. Yeah, I thought they were a highlight in this book. I also loved that even though Michael loves Harry and considers him to be a good friend, he still stood up and questioned Harry when he needed to. And I thought, this is how friends behave. And I love seeing their relationship just grow closer and closer over the years. I love Sonia, surprisingly. I never thought I would, but he has really grown on me as a character. Oh, and Ivy. Ivy and Kincaid. Yeah. This one showed us the vulnerability of these two characters, which in the past always seemed to be all-powerful, to be too powerful. But in this one, it made them more human, both of them. Even Kincaid, who we know isn't quite human. I loved that. And I particularly loved seeing more of Ivy, who she is, what has she become, how she seems to be two things, not just one. She is a human child, but she is also the repository of all this knowledge. And I love that her and Harry have a wonderful relationship. Something else I loved, as always, is the comedy, the humour in these books. Nickelheads. Oh, wow. How much did I love that? It was just such a perfect name for the Fallen. I thought it was so clever. I loved it so much. Not surprising, Michael and Sonia loved it too. Yeah, that was great. Okay, I think that is all I can say without going into spoilers, so let's jump into the spoiler part. Nicodemus and the Fallen. No one, I think, would be shocked that Nicodemus was intending to betray all of them. Yeah, I was not surprised that it was Ivy he was after. It would make sense. She is a very powerful being, given all the knowledge she has. How better to corrupt someone than to do it when they're young? And Michael kind of foreshadowed that. He mentioned how if a child was given a coin by the Fallen, they could shape this child into whatever they wanted. So yeah, that did not surprise me, but she surprised me. I actually hadn't realised how magically powerful she was. Watching her keep all these Denarians at bay was amazing. And of course, we have to talk about Harry and Soulfire. Soulfire, not Hellfire. Let's not forget, Harry has given up Lucille's coin, and now he has been infused, I guess, with Soulfire, which was handed to him by Uriel, an archangel. Wow, I loved that. I loved it. I thought, good. He needs some equalizer against some of these foes. They are far too powerful. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be many people out there who are willing to fight these horrible monsters, except for Harry. Well, that's all we know about in Chicago. But everything we've seen so far is the council is goddamn useless, or not willing to, get their hands dirty. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm very antagonistic towards the council. None of you will be surprised though. I also liked that Lucio and Harry developed a romantic relationship. I thought, good, he deserves to be happy. After so many horrific things that have happened to him that he's had to deal with, he deserves some happiness. Do I think they're a good match? No, I still think Murphy is a better match. I will admit it. And interestingly enough, this book seemed to indicate that Murphy might have had stronger feelings for Kincaid than we had been given to believe in the past. Yeah, I don't want it to go in that direction. But perhaps I'm wrong. There was a hint that Kincaid was easy for Murphy to be involved in because she didn't have strong feelings for him. I'm not sure. Kincaid, who is a great character and I would like to see more of, unfortunately, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with his character, so other than his feelings for Ivy, which seemed to be almost fatherly, we don't learn a lot more of him. Nicodemus. I love Nicodemus. I really do. He's smart, right? He's not just very powerful. He's incredibly intelligent. He's also incredibly manipulative. And when he offered Harry an alliance as such, I could see where he was coming from, but I thought he really doesn't get Harry at all. I was surprised that he even thought that Harry would be willing to sign on when it involves killing innocent people. In a way, it was a bit of a flaw in his character, which I guess is natural, right? He's hundreds, if not thousands of years old, and all that humanity has been burnt out of him, it seems. There was a hint that one of the other Denarians, I can't remember her name now, who had enslaved Sanya at some point, there was a hint that perhaps she might have regretted her choices. And I loved that scene where Harry said to her, "No, stop it. Your manipulation is not going to work." I thought that was brilliant. Murphy and the Sword of Truth, I think it is. I can't remember which one. I can't pronounce the letter name, so I'm not even going to try. Michael's sword. Now Harry has to find 2 wielders for the Swords of the Cross. But Murphy touching the sword and the white light infusing it did not surprise me. I said this to my brother after I read book 3. I said Murphy's going to become a Knight of the Cross. I was sure of it. And I've been waiting and waiting throughout these books to see if I was going to be right or wrong. And I think this one indicates I might be. I don't know yet, but I'm not surprised. She embodies everything that Michael and Sanya do. This clear-eyed vision of what is right and what is wrong, of protecting the vulnerable. And she isn't willing to cross lines like, say, Harry might be, like Michael and Sanya aren't. She seems ideal. I really do hope she becomes one of the Knights of the Cross. Mab. Oh, Mab. Yeah. There was a hint in an earlier book that Mab might have gone mad. Insane, I mean. No. She is just in a fury. And I can't blame her. Obviously, her seat of power was attacked. And it looks like it was by the Black Council, these dark forces that are gathering together. We have been misled into thinking that perhaps it might be the Denarians, or say some of the Fae, or some of the vampires working in concert, and it doesn't seem to be the case. They may have members from each of these different factions, but something else is organizing, orchestrating all the attacks on the different factions in the magical world. I know there has been mention of something called the Outsiders. What the hell are they? Oh, wow, I so want to know so many things that I'm just obsessed with these books. But that to me is foreshadowing for the future, that perhaps some of these enemies may have to become allies to defeat this big bad, as I'll call it. Yes, I'm a fan of Buffy, if you're not sure. That's where I got it from anyway. The other thing I found odd, and I don't know if I liked it, is that Nicodemus vanished when Harry threw up these fireworks things. I can't remember what they were. That didn't seem in line with his character. I would have thought that he would have just gone after Harry in the confusion. They certainly had the numbers. Harry and his small group were far outnumbered, and yet they seemed to get away quite easily. Perhaps you could argue in all the confusion they didn't realise people were getting winched up to the helicopter, perhaps. And yet, in the end, Michael got shot. Oh, yeah, okay, I cried. I did. I care about these characters intensely. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but I always get so invested in series that I'm loving, like this one. So I did cry, and I was so worried that he was dead. And I completely understand Harry freaking out, losing his temper and just going for it. Oh, wow, yeah. Butcher knows how to pull my heartstrings. He knows how to make us care about these characters, doesn't he? So, of course, when they are injured or hurt or killed, it is going to affect you powerfully. And that really affected me. On the other hand, we find out, I think, near the end that Michael hopefully will pull through, which means he will no longer be able to be a knight. Not necessarily a bad thing for him, is it? Perhaps he has done enough and he needs to rest. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And the last thing I wanted to mention was Lucio warning Harry to distance himself from Ivy. I reacted the way Harry did. This was a young girl who was tortured. Regardless of the powers she has, she deserves some compassion, some affection. And I actually think that should make her a better person overall. So yeah, I certainly don't agree with that. But her attitude seems very much in line with the White Council, doesn't it? Yeah, those bastards. Those heartless bastards. Yeah. So let's finish up now. Do I recommend Small Favour? Hell yes, hell yes. If you love some of these characters that I've mentioned, then you will love seeing them all in the one book. That just elevated it up so many notches for me. As for a score, I'm going to give Small Favour 8 to 8.5. But it is hard for me to decide, is 8 enough? 8.5 might be too much, perhaps somewhere in the middle. Let me know what you thought of Small Favour. You know, I always want to hear your opinions. I love discussing these books. And you can put it down in the comments or you can contact me on Instagram. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you can do the usual. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time. Bye.